Morning and good afternoon to everybody. It is 23 February 2021, and we've convened today to discuss part two of our three-part series on authorities in Alma, an overview of local authorities in Alma. And this is Yoel Kortick, Senior Librarian at Ex Libris, and let's jump right in. So, first of all, as is our custom, we're going to show where you can access the PowerPoint that goes along with this presentation that we're doing now. We're going to briefly be looking at the PowerPoint, mostly only at the beginning of the session. I'm going to take this URL and send this out to everybody. Those of you who are only viewing the recording, this can be accessed at Alma Training, Extended Training, Presentations and Documents, and then click Authorities. I'm writing that for everybody as well. And after we click Authorities, we have here the three-part webinar series on authority control in Alma. The first session we did last week, which was a general overview of authority control in Alma. And today we have an overview of local authorities in Alma. And in 2 weeks, I believe it's on March 10th, we have the authority control task list. And we'll be able to show there features from the March release because we're doing it on March 10th and March 7th is the March release date. So this presentation here, an overview of local authorities in Alma, is here. And I don't usually like to use a PowerPoint during these sessions, but I do want to point out a few issues at the beginning, a few points at the beginning. And so let's jump right in. Local authorities can be used by an institution if the institution is defined to use local authorities. Typically, an institution is defined to use local authorities at the time of implementation. If they have not been defined at the time of implementation to use local authorities and they wish to use local authorities, then it can be defined at a later stage by a Salesforce case to support. And local authority definitions, such as which authority vocabulary do you wish to use for the local authorities, is also in the online help here. There's a link to it of how to add a local authority definition. And we're not going to go in there right now. Suffice to say, there's instructions there, and like it says here on the screen, which is a screenshot of the documentation. If it's not already enabled, like we mentioned a moment ago, then Alma, Ex Libris support or your Ex Libris professional services representative can enable it for you. Now, in my institution, I'm going to show where we see the local authorities. So let me just log into my demo environment here and log in with a user. Okay. So the local authorities can be viewed. Everything I'm showing is in the PowerPoint, even though I'm not always showing the PowerPoint. So you don't have to write everything down real fast. You can see the recording later, and you can see the PowerPoints later. So if we come to the configuration menu on the bottom left here, I'm switching to configuration. And if we go to resources and cataloging, that's where we define all of the different metadata configuration, whether it be holdings, bibliographic, authorities, etc. And if we go into the Mark 21 authority, we can see, Mark 21 bibliographic, one moment please, one more time, back. Okay, once we go in, I'm going to go back again just to show again from zero, from the beginning. Resources, metadata configuration, that's it, resources, metadata configuration. And you can see on the bottom here a list of potential local authority vocabularies. We have listed here all possible vocabularies, and if they're managed locally, then the Managed Locally tab will be active. So in our case here, we can see that I have Library of Congress names and LCSH, which is Library of Congress subject headings, managed locally and managed in the community. That means we have the Library of Congress authority records for names and for subjects in the community zone, as is the case for everybody. And in this institution, we also have them managed locally. Local authorities for names and for subjects of Library of Congress. If they are managed locally, like we see here, then that means in the metadata editor, where we will go now, I'm going to click here, bottom left, metadata editor. We'll be able to create new authority records via the new menu, new, and among the various types of records I can create, bibliographic, Unimark, CNMark, Dublin Core, holdings, I can also create Library of Congress names and Library of Congress subject headings. There are 3 ways to create a local authority record. 3 ways. In fact, I'm going to write down the 3 ways here, and maybe at the end we'll do a little trivia and say, who knows what are the 3 ways we can create a local authority? I don't want to take a tour. I just want to create a document. So, whoa, what's going on there? I guess I created a tour. There we go. So we have 3 ways to create an authority record. That sounds like it'd be a nice song. 3 ways to create an authority record. Okay, so let's make that even a little bigger so everyone can see, and we're going to use these 3 ways today. So number 1, we can use the new menu. Number 2 is we can create from a template. And number 3 is we can copy from the community zone and change as desired. 3 ways. So first of all, we see here the new, and then I can create. Now, by the way, these are coming from templates. Those of you who were in the new metadata editor sessions that we held about a month ago will recall that in the templates display configuration, I'm clicking templates display configuration. Here we have the template names in the template format. So here we have the LC names and the Library of Congress subject headings, and I have here, it's to display these in the menu. If I were, for example, to not display the Library of Congress, you see I just made it not display in menu, and click Save. Now I do not have Library of Congress subjects, I only have names. I'm going to put that back, template names, back to LC subject headings. LC, where's my Control F? There we go. And now I'm going to reactivate it. LC subject headings, I've got it for all different kinds, for form, for generic, for topical term, and now it's active again. Okay, and save. And now for new, I see names and subjects again. So one way is from the new. Another way is from the templates. I'm going to go to templates. Let me just release these records. So if I go to the templates tab here, and I'm in now LCSH, LC subject headings, here's my options. And then I've also got for names, LC names, and here's my templates, and a right-click new record from template. So that's the two ways when not copying from the community zone, and we'll show throughout the session how we can copy from the community zone and do it that way. Excuse me. So that's what we just showed here. We have these templates, we have these vocabularies managed locally. We can do it from the new menu here. And now, why would we use local authorities? Two main reasons, the second one divided into two. It might be that there are no authority records available, for example, for an author that I want to use. I have a work, I've got a creator, I want to make an authority record for that. His name is Johnny Smith. People are searching for him by Jonathan Smith and not finding. So I want to make an authority record with Johnny Smith, seen from Jonathan Smith. So I create a local authority record. That's one reason. Another reason is there may be a community zone authority record. However, I want it slightly different. Maybe it says chemical kinetics. And in my institution, people are searching for chemist kinetics. So I want to change it around. I want to add a seen from, for example, or I want to remove one of the seen froms. Usually it's add another seen from, so that there's an additional access point that the end user in discovery can find the record. So let's add one now. We're already 15 minutes done, 13 minutes done. Let's jump right in and add one. Is there anyone who would like to volunteer themselves to be, wow, 219 people have joined. That's great. Would anyone like to volunteer themselves to be a person for a new local authority record? I'm just going to keep you in my own local environment here. I'm not going to contribute to the community zone or anyone else. Anyone want to send in a chat and say, yes, you can use me. I'd like to be a new authority record. I see Andrew Christensen. Oh, so we have a volunteer. Okay, thanks a lot. Ellen. So let me just go to the chat now. It just popped up quick and left. Ellen, thank you very much, Ellen. Ellen Katobra. Okay, there we are. Where are we here? Ellen Katobra. Thanks, Ellen. And let's put in Ellen Katobra. All right. So let's say I have a work in my institution. I'm going to find anything here. Let's even search for anything here, just to see what we got. And I'm going to add a creator, librarians as community partners and outreach handbook. That sounds like a great one. Okay, edit record. I've got a lot of library and information science examples here. And let's do, now somebody else writes here. Oh, this is great. Thank you. And I never say the person's name, except of course when we have a volunteer whose name we're going to use. But you can put in any chat messages and I won't say your name. So you don't have to be concerned that everyone will know what you said. So somebody writes this, and we're actually going to do what the person wrote. Sorry about that, this one here. So someone writes, my favorite and most often way to create local authority records is from failed F3 searches. It's so handy to see where my heading would have been, and the option to create it is right there. Okay, great. So we're going to do that option. Okay, so let's say in this record, I'm going to add, now this is a 24500, which we know is not going to have a 100 field if that first indicator is 0. So let's add a 700 here. F8, 700, 1, and boom. Oops, sorry about that. And, oh, I copied that because I had that in my mouse last. But I've got this nice feature here. Okay, so this will be Katurba Ellen. Ellen is an added author here. And now I'm going to do F3 and see if Ellen exists in the Library of Congress names. And no, and like the person who sent in the message, I see where it would have been, but it's not. So I'm going to create one now. Let's do that. I'm going to create an authority record now for Ellen Cotabra. Cancel. And let's go. So first I'll save this bibliographic record, although that's not necessary. I don't even need a bibliographic record, actually. Wow, I picked a really long record. Okay. A web page is slowing down your browser. What would you like to do? I think I'll wait. Okay. New LC names, personal name. And now I'll start creating my record. This is coming from my default template. Of course, I can change my template. And I'll make my preferred term here be Kotrba Helen. Kotrba Helen. And maybe there are people who are searching, for example, with a C. Cotrba Ellen. And maybe some people only heard the name and think it's actually Alan. I know in Israel, for example, when they hear an English name, Ellen or John, they often confuse it with Alan and Joan. Very common. So, because the e and the a are kind of almost the same. So now I have, let me make this a 400. Sorry about that. And now I have two non-preferred methods of searching for Ellen. And this is not by any means mandatory, but somebody in a previous session mentioned that in his or her institution, they add a 670 stating local authority added, and then they say the month and the year. Definitely not mandatory, just a little note in there. And that's really all I need. We see here the badge, these are called badges on the top, that it's an LC names record, and save. So now I'm saving my own local authority record. And now if I go back to my original bibliographic record, let's go to the bibliographic record, mark bib, librarians as community partners. Okay, and I'm just going to do a little 13 warnings in my record. Wow. Let's take a look here what we got. Okay, I'm just cleaning up some of those. I'm going to clean up some of these just so we can navigate through this record real fast. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. All right. And again, nice. Okay, get rid of a bunch of these notes. Okay. Now, here, look at that. Already it linked. Look at that. I didn't even start saving or anything. All I did was open it now. When I saved the local authority, and you know that I didn't plan this in advance, I asked who wants to volunteer themselves. I feel like a magician, but nothing was planned in advance. Automatically now, this record was linked to the new authority record. If I click here on the binoculars, we'll see here on the right that it linked to my new local authority record. let's wait till we see that. There it is. So that means already now, when somebody searches by Kotraba Ellen or Kortraba Allen with the C or with the Allen, they will find this original one. I'm going to just take a little screenshot of this so that later when I want to do some samples, I'll know exactly what to search for. So I'm going to take this one and crop. Okay, just so I've got the little example there. And I'll take that and actually we'll stick it right here in the document that we're playing around with. Not that one, this one. Okay. So now we have it, the authority. If now somebody catalogs and does F3, let's do an F3 here in the bib record. I'll get rid of this. That one I don't need open anymore. F3. So now instead of saying that my heading would have appeared here, I see that it's a local one and that here it is, local. So now I've got the record and I want to speed things here without needing to wait for publishing and everything else. And even though it's Primo V, which a maximum of 15 minutes will appear in Primo, I'm going to take this record, which we know is MMSID this. I'm going to save it. And I want to publish it, just so we can take a look at something. Confirmation required. Okay, you have my confirmation. Record saved at 4:23 p.m. That's exactly now. Okay. All right, great. There it is linked. And I'm going to release this. And just for demonstrative purposes, I'm going to look for this record. This will take 2 seconds, maybe a minute. Save this record. I'm going to save it as a set. It's only one record, but I'll save it as a set. And the set name will be the MMSID. Then I'm going to publish it, just so we can look at something. We looked at this last time, what I want to look at. I'm going to run a job. And I'm going to run the republish a set. Republish set. And my set name is the MMSID that we saved 1 moment ago. And there we go. Next, next. So this is going to allow us to be able to see the actual published record. And while we're waiting for that, I just want to do a test here. One of the ways we originally changed this was we did it with a C. This is physical titles. I'm not going to find it because I don't think I will find it because it does have an item. So already now you can see I'm finding this record with the non-preferred terms. I added the C. If we look at the record, it doesn't have Kotrba with a C. If I say Control F, Cotrba, up and down, I'm not finding it. The 700 has a K. A K. But I'm finding it anyway. And I would also find it. Let me take this. We also did Allen. So if I come here and I do Allen, boom. Allen. I think I've got a period in there somewhere. Oops. Ellen. Ah, okay. Use Alan with an A. Oh, thank you. Thanks, everybody. Everybody's being so nice. ALAN. There we go. All right, that goes along with my theory. There are no Alma errors. There are only human errors. That was a human error. My authority record had Alan with an ALAN, not an ALEN. Okay, so we are already finding it by the non-preferred term. And if we come in here, other details, I'm assuming the job, no, job probably did not finish yet, admin monitor jobs. We're going to see it in the other details once the record will be published. Okay, it is published. Yes. And Alan, Kotrba, I believe it was. Okay. Sorry about my horrible spelling. TRBA. TRBA, right? Yes. Okay, and then I have the publishing information, the link here to the publishing information. I just want to show what's happening behind the scenes here with our local authority record. I'm going to copy this and put it out to Notepad just so it's easier to look at. Or I think we can look here. So what we're going to have here now is the preferred term and the non-preferred term. So this is the preferred, Ellen Kotrba. This is preferred, we have the Y here. And the reason we're able to find this, and Primo will also be able to find it, is because it's also publishing the non-preferred. Here's the non-preferred. It has an N in the subfield Y. And here's my non-preferred method, CORTRBA Ellen, and KOTRBA Allen. And these we see are both non-preferred terms. So we have the non-preferred getting published and an indication that it's a non-preferred. I'm going to go way out on a limb here. Out on a limb, I think that's the expression. When you do something, but you're like way out at the edge, because it does take a little bit to get into Primo, but I'm already going to do the search and see. Maximum, I'll tell you, it's going to be a couple more minutes, because it takes a maximum of 15 minutes, a new record to get into Primo. So it might not be there yet, but I'm going to give it a try. Oh, look at that. Already now. Just in our example here, very recently, we asked a member of the audience. I feel like a magician here. You know, I didn't plan this in advance. I asked someone. And already now, someone can come in and search for a non-preferred term in Primo and find the record. So let's just summarize what happened here. We have a record called Librarians as Community Partners. We have an author in there called Ellen Kotrba with a K. We know that our end users are searching with a K, with a C. Others are searching for Alan instead of Ellen. They're coming to the reference desk and saying, how come I can't find this record? I know the author is Ellen Kotrba, and I'm searching, and I know you have it, and I can't find it. And then it turns out they're searching with a C or a K, or they're searching with Alan instead of Ellen. And then the institution decides we're going to make a local authority record for this. They make the local authority record, and now the end user can find it. Okay, let's just bring ourselves back into the planned curriculum and get back in here. So what happened here? Why are we using a local authority? Because what exists in the community, because in this case, what exists in the communities, the record does not exist in the community zone. That's new authority record created from scratch. And in my example here, I'm using subjects. Let's take a look at my example here, which is a subject. And then we'll do a example with a subject ourselves. So an example we have here is if I go to the community zone, I'm going to go to authorities. And here you see I'm searching community zone. And much to my surprise, the entire community zone, 48 different vocabularies in the community zone, not one of them has a subject heading gefilte fish. 48 vocabularies and not one of them has gefilte fish. Extremely surprising. So what did we do? We created our own local authority record. This is the example from the PowerPoint. What we did now was the Ellen Kotreba. I'm going to get to those questions in a minute. I see people are sending in chats. So we created our own. And our own record here says, in addition to gefilte fish, you will also be able to search by fish, gefilte, by stuffed fish, by fish patties, and then this is in Hebrew, and then this is in Yiddish. So we've got a main heading and then several different non-preferred terms, and the end user can search by these non-preferred terms as well. That if there's a record, that's just an authority record, but there is a record here. Great. So inside these, somewhere there might really be the word stuffed fish. This is just stuffed, not stuffed. Or it could be from the authority record. Then let's go on. In our case, we search like I just showed. It doesn't exist in the community, so they create their own. And we also saw that there are multiple ways to create a record. We can go from the new menu, or we can take a template, right click and say create new record from template. This is exactly what we did with the names a moment ago. And then we have the local one, just like we had with our names. I'm going to stop and look at the questions. Then I want to copy one from the community zone like we have here and add a non-preferred term. Let me just go take a look at the questions. Chat. Okay, let me just make this bigger so I can read them. And okay, so someone says this may be off topic, but our IZs and NZ, so somebody's talking about the fact that they're in a communities, a network zone consortia, and they say, we don't typically see details for that publishing information in our IZs and NZs. We have been using Primo VE from Go Live. Is that publishing information only available using the publishing job? Should we use the publishing job with Primo VE? Let's, like you say, off topic. I don't want to overdo it here. I want to try to stay on topic. We're at 1634. Maybe, I'm going to write something down here. Maybe we should have a session just on publishing. And if we do have a session just on publishing, it's going to be only for VE, which is the way of the future. Excuse me for saying if you're still not on it, but that's where things are going. Let's keep that. Sorry for not answering, but I want to stay on the track here. Next week, LC publishes Ellen Kotreba 1950 through. What happens to new BEB records with that heading? Does anything prompt a review of the local authority? Yes. Stay tuned March 10th. Authority control task list. If somebody now were to publish Ellen Kotreba with a 1950 through, that would be, I believe it's called an ambiguous heading. I'd have to see exact terminology that we're using now in the authority control task list. I believe that's an ambiguous when there's a heading, and then there's another heading with the same subfield A, but a different date, with the idea that someone would want to physically look at that and see if it's the same author. It will go to the authority control task list March 10th. Is there a way to use a local subject authority record, i.e., let me put this into the Word document so everyone can read. I'll make sure I don't include the person's name. Okay, where were we? Sorry, wrong place. There we are. Okay, I guess we can get rid of this previous one. Boom. Is there a way to use a local subject authority record, one that we would create in the BIB record? We could use second indicator 7, subfield 2. Yes, definitely. We want to keep our local subjects and bibliographic records easily identified. Yes. You can use your own local authority record, local authority vocabulary. It doesn't have to be based on one in the community zone. In fact, I do have one in my environment here, which I'm not showing now, but I do have one that does exactly what you're talking about. It makes a subfield 2, a second indicator 7, and then a subfield 2 showing what it is. I believe it's the UDC based on the Technion, a university in Haifa, Israel. Yeah, UDC local Technion. I turned it off, but you can do that. Unimark Dewey New. You can make any kind. It doesn't have to be based on what's in the local, what's in the community zone. I'm not going to go through the whole process of creating a new one now, but I could say here, add local authority. This is where we are in the list of authorities, and it would have to have a family here and a type, subject name, or combination. It doesn't have to be LC names. Okay, let me go on. And now we want to use something from the community zone as a basis for our new local authority record. Instead of what we did now, which was create it, file, new, and fill it in, we'll take something that already exists in the community zone and we'll change it around a bit. And that really overrides it, because if an authority record exists both locally and in the community zone, then Alma first looks for the local authority record. If it exists, it uses that. If not, then it looks in the community zone. So the local authority record is always stronger. Okay, so let's say somebody's, I'm not going to use the example I've already gotten here. Let me search for anything else. I could have had an example ready, but on purpose, I want something brand new. So let's do a search here. If somebody wants to give me a suggestion, that's fine too. But I'm going to return to the Alma menu and start until someone says, hey, use subject whatever. But it has to be a non-political, non-religious subject. So let's look for, I don't know, chemical. If you have a suggestion, send one in. Boom. Okay. That was just a question. Gravestones. Okay, that's not political and not religious. Let's use that. So let's say I have a book about gravestones. Let's see if we can import one. Resources and search resources. That's an interesting topic, by the way. It is actually an interesting topic. There are studies of it. Okay, gravestones. And even I once worked in a museum library, and there's all kinds of collections of photographs of them. Okay. The last library I worked in before Ex Libris was in a museum, an art museum. Okay, so let's take this import. So we've got here, oh, this is great. We've got a book about gravestones, early New England gravestones. Kind of a morbid topic. All right, and let's import that record. I'm just going to make my, whoa, another big record. Okay, and let me close this one. What just happened there? Resources. Okay, there we are. So here's my record. And let's go to the subjects. I just like to clean up all these things. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Maybe I'll make a normalization rule and get rid of my 0, 2, 9s. Just for demo purposes, I like the record small and clean. Okay. Everyone's version of small and clean is different, I know. Okay. So now let's add a 650 gravestones. Take and then say we don't like what's in the community zone, and we're going to bring our own in and change it. And if there is not one for gravestones, then we'll find a different one. Oh, we've even got a nice example with a 776 here. We can use this one day for related records. Okay. All right, so where were we? I'm going to say F8 for a new field, 650. And second indicator 0, because we're going to use Library of Congress. And gravestones, F3. Gravestones, great. So already gravestones exists in the community zone. You can see it here. And the preferred term is sepulchral monuments. Okay, I can copy that record from here simply by doing copy, and that will copy it into my institution. Excuse me. Let's do that. So I'm going to copy this. And it asks me which vocabulary code do I want to use. I'm going to keep it. These are all of my locally defined authority records. I'm going to keep it Library of Congress subject headings. That's the different originating systems I can choose. I have a file in Alma called originating systems. Continue. And here it is. This is my local Library of Congress subject heading in my institution. Now I can change it around to whatever I want. For example, maybe people are searching in my institution by gravestones with 2 words. And I will say, therefore, F8. And if anyone else has another suggested non-preferred term, feel free to post it in the chat. So I'm going to say, people are searching by gravestones. Aren't they also called headstones? Yes, someone even sent that, headstones. So headstones doesn't appear here. Maybe that's why. Is that the same person? Yes. Maybe that's why the person suggested that. Headstones and tombstones. Oh, this. Oh, tombstones is already here, so I'm not going to add it. But headstones. Headstones. Okay, headstones. And save. Grave markers. Oh, wow. This crowd is really into grave markers. This is great. Okay, 450. It's always nice to have an active crowd. What was that? Head markers. Okay. I think that's enough. I'm going to save this one. Save. Okay. Somebody asked and then answered their own question. How can they know that this is a local authority record? So it's got the house here. Okay, let's go on. So now I have this in-depth authority record. Let's go back to the bib record just to see what's going to happen, but I'm going to close it. We don't need it open anymore. And let's close this. And I'm in records. Let me go to my Mark 21 bib records. Here it is. Great. So now, if someone were to type here, instead of gravestones or sepulchral monuments or however that's pronounced, I'll say here headstones, F3. It finds the local one. It signifies that it's local by the local in parentheses after it. Then we say select. This is a really fast session. It's already 4:46. These sessions are like time warps. It just goes right by. So now we're selecting the headstones local. And what do we got here? It brings the preferred term, of course. We'll save that. Someone asked, could I have used something different for the preferred term? Yes, I could do whatever I want. It's when I copy a record from the community zone, the only reason I'm copying it is so that I have a basis to work with. But it's the same principle as if I done new from scratch, new from a template. I can make the 150 and the 450, the 100 and the 400 be whatever I want. I can make it be an entirely different subject. The only reason it's getting copied is so that I have the basis to start with. But I don't have to keep the same preferred term. I can do whatever I want. It's just so I have a general basic beginning to start with. Like copy cataloging, we can say. Copy cataloging of an authority record. Okay, so now here's my new record. I'm just going to add some inventory, if you don't mind, just to make something clean here. I'm going to say new holdings record, and those of you who are into the latest developments know that in the March release, March 7th, stay tuned. We'll be able to add a new holdings record also from the add inventory option. I'm going to leave all the defaults here and just add a item. So I'll add inventory, add item. And save. Save. Okay, excuse me for, don't want to keep coughing. All right. Now, if somebody comes and does a search here, we've got sepulchral monuments, sepulchral, I'm not sure how to pronounce that. I know in the singular it's sepulcher. Sepulchral. I see fast, the authority vocabulary fast also has it. Yeah, they have the same things, but broken down into categories. Okay, so if I were to search now for, which one did we add? Headstones. We added headstones, right? And we added gravestones as 2 words. So what's going to happen now if somebody searches for headstones? Okay, oops, that's a different one. So ours, it might take a moment or two until it gets in there. Subjects, boom. Okay. I forgot already what we searched for originally. Gravestones, right? Do you have to publish it? I don't have to publish it, but when I do publish it, it will be ready. Let's in fact do that. We're going to be quick here. Just so that, actually I can take this set, save query. It'll publish 2 records, but that's fine. And someone will find that set. One of my colleagues will go into this environment there and say, what was Yoel doing with that set called gravestones? Let me just publish this, and then we'll, that would look kind of funny, you know, and even during a demo, he's doing it. Okay, we don't want scheduled jobs, we want to run a job. Okay, run a job. Okay, and we want to run the publish one. We saw last time it was extremely quick. And next. And there we go. And next. Next, submit. Okay, that's publishing. We got 2 records in there, but that's fine. So that's going to publish like we saw before. Last time we saw the XML inside the record that included the non-preferred and the preferred. And now we got it. Subject gravestones. If we edit this record, here we are. This one we can close. Okay. So, there we are. Come on. All right. So subject gravestones, we find it. There might already be an actual one, but I don't think there is. 650 gravestones. We have cemeteries, sepulchral monuments, cemeteries, New England. We don't have gravestones here, but we're finding it because of the non-preferred term in the authority record. And someone asks, can we delete, before that last question that came in, somebody asked, can we delete local authority records? Yes, we can. Let's go search for local authorities. So if we search for authorities, how can we find all our local authorities? I'll say authorities. And let's even do an advanced search. And I'm going to say authorities. Let's go by MMS creation date equals, I'll say today. We can also do before, after, etc. So equals today. This is going to find everything I used in this session and in the morning session. So we have the Ellen Kotrba that we used, and we have the sepulchral monuments. I'll delete one of these from the morning session. So I can come in here, I'll edit the record. And like any other record, it can be deleted by doing record actions, delete record. Record actions, delete record. Boom. Let me, before I do that, I'll do it. But what's going to happen is also the link, of course, inside the bibliographic record is going to get broken. It's not going to be linked anymore. This session was just, does everyone think this was just a super fast session? We're at 4:54 already, or is that just me thinking? Let's go see what happens when the preferred fast. Someone else thought it was fast too. Okay, what happens? Zoom. Yeah, it's real. It's like a time warp. So someone asks, what happens when the preferred term correction job runs and there's a conflict between your local authority and the community zone, which takes preference? I'm going to put that out because it's important. The local authorities always takes precedence. By the way, the preferred term correction job does the same behind the scenes as F3 select. And F3 select first looks, finds a match, it sees it's local, and does a select. Always the local takes preference. When there's a local in a CZ record with the same term, it always uses the local. That's the rule. Is it possible to delete authority record? Okay, that one was already asked and shown. Okay, headstones was added as one word. That was when I was trying to search for it. Is the locally modified LCSH record still connected to the CZ? No, it's not a locally modified CZ record. When I go into the community zone, let's do that one more time. If I go into the community zone, I'm going to go search for anything in the community. Let me switch to community. When I copied that record, promise her anything. This is I don't want to copy that one. Let me take a person. Put this into person names. When I copied that record from the community into my institution, let's go names. It's no longer linked at all to the community zone. It's a pure local authority record. And there's no connection to the community zone. My copying it is only for the purposes of making it easier, so I have something to start with already. Instead of doing file new, but there's no connection anymore to the community zone. I'm going to take this W.H. Smith and Son. Now watch, I'll take this one here. And I'll click on the top right, copy. All that's doing is creating one in my institution now. No connection. It's not like a activated portfolio. The activated portfolio from the community zone is linked to the community zone. This is just a copy from the community zone so that I don't need to start adding all of the other fields. I can just add my own. And what can I do here? 410. I'll just make up another 410. I'll say edit. And in here, let that open. This is an example from the morning session. And it's just so I have the basics to start with. And I will say I want this one here. I'll say F8, and I'll add 410 with a 2. Boom, and I'll change the ampersand, that's an ampersand, I believe, to and. Okay, so I added another field. There's no connection anymore. Now, someone says, so best practice would be to strip the LC information from your copied local authorities so they don't get mixed up. That could be a best practice. Somebody this morning said a best practice in her institution, his or her institution, is to add a 670. I think I mentioned that at the beginning. But it could be a best practice. I'm not gonna say what, maybe some people would like to use it so they know what it was like before it was copied. Someone else asks, when would we use a 690? A 690 is a local subject, but not connected to an authority record. The 650, which or the 650 which we had here, I forgot, for the gravestones, is not a local heading in my institution. It's a regular heading, a 650, a legal 650, a Library of Congress heading, and I'm linking it to a local authority record. A 690, however, is a local bibliographic heading. It's a field which is considered unique to my institution, localized. It includes a 9 in the second indicator. You would use that if you don't want to link it to an authority record or whatever your best local practice is. Okay, someone else says, let me put this one out into the, thank you for everybody for all of these suggestions you're pointing out. Your local practices. So somebody else says, and then we're already at 5 o'clock, I add our local code to the end of the 040 to indicate that I've updated it in some way. That way, if I counter it again, I can check our local record against the LC to see the cross references have been updated. Okay, so another option is to add something to the 040. And say here, I want my own institution, $A. I always call my institution Yillis. Okay, so I could do that, and then I know it's my own local one. Okay, so we are out of time. We hope to see everybody on March 10th for the authority control task list. Thanks everybody for joining. We're going to be posting this session to the YouTube channel. We'll be sending out a message to the Alma list, and we hope to see you in all our next sessions. Thanks a lot, and have a nice day.